We are green. We are live. We got the band back together tonight. I am Rorschach.
And I'm Spectre.
We are the game reactionists, and tonight we're continuing our mini Resident Evil marathon. I say mini because there are so many games in the series, and with Resident Evil 4 Remake quickly approaching us, we were just going through the core four. So we're starting Resident Evil 3 Remake tonight. It's my least favorite of the remakes. Lot of issues with it, a lot of controversy behind it. There are positives to it. It's still a good-looking game. The gameplay mechanics themselves work perfectly fine. Too much cut content. And I know you're not too familiar with this, but a third of the game is missing from the original, basically. And that's unfortunate. But we're just going to dive right in into the story here.
Up on my end here. But yeah, no, I was... Yeah, I know we kind of took a little bit of a... I mean, we didn't really take a break. It's just that we kind of both each of their own separate games there for a little bit. But I was watching, Resident Evil 2. I mean, it's a good game. The Resident Evil 2 remake. So I was almost more curious to see this one just because I knew it had... I know it has a bad reputation. So I almost want to see what this is like compared to that.
Sure.
And see why it's so bad.
This pandemic has spread faster than any disease in modern history.
Now, it's funny because this came out in 2020. Basically at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. And you'll see in the footage here, they reference the pandemic, they reference citywide declaration. There's a lot of controversy even behind this. A lot of people thought it was distasteful of Capcom to include this given the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't think that's an issue. I think it was purely a coincidence. They had already been working on this game. The events of Raccoon City were described as a pandemic event, more or less, even in the previous games. So I thought it was a non-issue that people just wanted to, create controversy out of nothing. But I do like this because it's kind of like a quasi-realistic / CGI scene to introduce you.
Okay, yeah, now it's finally loading up here for me. So yeah, I mean, full motion video. I like full motion video in games. I know that was it was a huge fad in the '90s, the early '90s, and then they got away from it. Because it was seen as really cheesy, but in a weird way, it's kind of in certain games, it's kind of come back.
Yeah.
This you have the. I mean, there was the Command & Conquer remake where they still had them, of course, in there. I think Quantum Break had them in there. There's other examples. Control had it as well.
Yeah. How is audio sounding, by the way?
It seems like it has me a little soft still, so I mean, I don't know if you have me maxed or not.
I do. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
That's fine. I'll just talk as loud as I can. So.
That's okay. Alright, so we're waking up here. Alright, and we're in full control.
Alright, remember, it's a little delayed on my end.
That's fine.
But yeah, I think our plan is going to be, just for the sake of timing, we're probably going to start Resident Evil 4 as well, too. I will be doing that run. The original Resident Evil 4, just to clarify, of course, because the other one's not out yet. But aside from the demo. So, just for the interest of time, because Resident Evil 4 is a longer game.
Yes.
So, we really want to get that done before Remake comes out.
I could be mistaken, but I think it still is the longest Resident Evil in the series. Code Veronica may be a close second behind that. I can't remember exactly.
It's also the best Resident Evil game.
Well, myself and many fans would disagree with you.
What's your favorite Resident Evil game?
Code Veronica, for me personally. I really liked Code Veronica in all its cheesiness. Uh-oh. Oh, what's happening to Jill? Oh, no! You grabbed a gun. Code Veronica, followed behind, I'd say it's a toss-up between Resident Evil 2 and 3. The originals. I would place Resident Evil 4 at the number 5 spot. It would be in the top 5 Resident Evils for me.
Okay, well, at least you have some reverence for it, but
yeah, I don't have any disdain toward it. You know, it's a fine enough game. It's just
gets worse every night.
I'm just one, you know, and looking back on it.
3 more days, then I can kiss this town goodbye.
She's waiting 3 days with all this craziness going on to leave. You know, having played it originally, you know, I really liked it back in the day. Thought it was good. It breathed new life. I don't know why that sounds incorrect. Breathed new life into the series itself. Because it needed it. The series was getting stale. But then they leaned heavily into that action genre, which ruined the subsequent sequels up until Resident Evil 7. So we got Jill's report here. September 26, 1998. It's already been 2 months since that mess with Umbrella. Thanks to the suspension, investigations haven't progressed exactly as I'd hoped. Perhaps this written record of what I found will prove to be my final duty as a STARS officer. I can only hope that it helps lead to the truth. The T-virus. Those infected by this virus seem to become literal zombies. It appears to be communicable via several different avenues outlined below. Bite from an infected individual, allowing the mixing of bodily fluids. Contact with crows which have eaten infected carrion. Due to the strength of the virus, airborne infection cannot be discounted. It should be noted that those who survived the incidents have not yet developed symptoms. It's unclear whether this is because the virus has a long incubation period or because we just happen to be resistant to the infection. We ought to remain vigilant even after this investigation period ends. As for me, aside from my minor difficulties sleeping, I seem to be in fine shape. Still, I shouldn't get too hopeful. After all, this could just be an extended incubation. So we kind of get an explanation, you know, we see Jill kind of freaking out about herself becoming a zombie. It's because she's living with the constant fear of whether or not she's infected because of her situation in the Arklay Mountains. Investigation notes. Umbrella, pharmaceuticals company, industry leader in market share, focuses on military weapons development while maintaining cover as a pharmaceutical company, also secretly developing bioweapons. T-virus outbreak at Arklay Mountains research facility, predicated the mansion incident. Conspiring with Raccoon City leadership, large donations to Mayor Warren's office, effectively controls the city.
What I don't understand about this, and we were talking about this a little bit off stream too, is like, why did they? I thought it would have been neat if they would have kept the original like